Hello everyone. Today we are making donut.
Donette is SKU number 8, and on the back you'll find the information to go to Bright Stripe's website where they have how-to videos to teach you how to knit and how to do lots of the basic shapes from their knit kits. Okay, let's get started. First, we're going to measure out 24 inches of our yarn. If you don't have a measuring tape, don't worry, there's actually a ruler in the instructions. Alright, hold on to where that 24 inches was, and now we're going to wrap the yarn around our knitting needle 18 times to give us a good idea of how much yarn we're going to need to cast on our stitches. Holding on to where you left off, just release that yarn, and now we can make our slip knot. To make our slip knot, we're going to have our tail end in our left hand and the yarn end in our right hand. We're going to make 2 little loops so it looks like Mickey Mouse ears with the bridge underneath. Now we're going to put the left loop through the right loop and pull your yarn tightly. Okay, so now we are casting on 18 stitches. We're putting our yarn in around our thumb, the tail end behind our pointer finger. We're going to pull it down to make a triangle, pull up on the yarn on your thumb, down on the yarn on your pointer finger. If you need a more detailed video, go to my How to Knit playlist. I have a bunch of videos there that can help. Okay, so we've made our slip knot with a 24-inch tail and we've cast on our 18 stitches. Now it says knit about 33 rows until you have a rectangle that is 5 by 5 and cast off. I go by the dimensions and not how many rows it says to knit because I knit tightly so mine come up a little short. I have my non-working needle in my left hand and my working needle in my right hand. As we work, we're basically just passing all this yarn from one needle to the other. Okay, so let's get knitting. So we are not worried about the tail end right now. Forget about her. We only worried about the yarn ends. We're going to put our working needle under our top stitch and make an X like this. Then we're going to wrap our yarn around just the back needle through that X we just made. Now we're going to push that yarn to the front under your top stitch and pull all of it up. Okay, one more time, we're going to push our working needle under our top stitch and behind to make an X. We're going to wrap our yarn around the back needle only, the working needle. Then we're going to pull that yarn under your top stitch into the front and slide everything off. Okay, now we're just going to finish knitting our first row. Okay, that's our first row completed. Now to start your second row, you're just going to do exactly the same as before.
So we have knitted until we have a piece that is 5 by 5. Mine is about 4.5 inches by 4.5 inches. That's what it's looking like. Yeah, but that's okay. Next step, fold the corners of the square into the center. Stitch the edges together. Also stitch around the corners to round them. Leave one edge open so you can fill with stuffing. So it looks like, let me fold in like this. Oh, okay. Valentine's kit could be a little like love letter. What? Okay, so I'm just gonna follow like it says right here. I'm gonna stitch one side all the way down like this, stitch there, and then I'm gonna stitch this one and then I will round them off. Okay, I've just threaded the needle from our tail that we left on here. I'm gonna sew up this side first. I'm going to start right here to make it really easy. finish it off, I'm just going to pick up one of the stitches close to where my yarn came out right there. Just going to pick it up, and instead of pulling all the way through, I'm going to make a little loop. Show the loop. Make a loop and pull my yarn through there to tie a knot. And do it one more time to make sure it's nice and secure. And through the loop. And tighten. Okay, so we've sewn this side up. Looks pretty good. Okay, now we're going to sew here.
So I'm just pulling my yarn through one of the top loops and tying it twice to make sure it's secure, and then I'll rethread my yarn needle and start sewing.
Okay, we have these two sides sewn up. Now I'm just going to sew along right here. Now we have sewn along here and right here, just like it says, and we've left this open to add our stuffing. Now I'm going to sew right around here to round these corners off. You got to think a donut shape. So
I'm picking up a loop close to where I plan to begin sewing, and then I'm tying my yarn in 2 knots to make sure that it's secure. Now I'm just sewing in and out of the entire piece in a semicircle shape, trying to round that corner to make it look like a donut.
before I tie that off and cut it, I'm going to flip it inside out and see if it's looking rounded. Okay, so I flipped it inside out to see how it's looking, and I think I did a good job rounding it off.
Since I like the way it looked, I went ahead and flipped it back inside out, and now I'm securing that yarn so that it keeps the shape. Now I'm just going to finish rounding the last 2 corners off.
Okay, so I've sewn around all the edges. Let's see how it looks. Okay, she's looking like a donut. Now turn the knitting inside out. Now all the corners are hidden. Add stuffing and stitch the gap closed.
Okay, now we'll add our stuffing. Future Murgy here, I definitely should have added much more stuffing, so learn from my mistakes.
Okay, so I've added my stuffing, and this is what it looks like. As we fill the gap, I'm going to tuck this in somehow, and we're going to figure out how to get it sewn up where it still looks rounded. So I'm going to start sewing this up now. Okay, so I still have this little part that's poking out kind of funny, and I'm just going to like try to figure out how I want the yarn to hold it down and where it needs to go. I think I just want this to be pulled down a little bit more like that. Right now it's like this, and I want it to be a little more pulled in to round off better there. So I pull it like about how I want it. And then I'm just going to see about where I'm holding it. I can kind of go through one of my little loops and tug and see how tight it needs to be to get the shape that I want, which is just there. And now I can go in and just make a knot right there, and it should hold it back.
Also, Future Murky here, it was not sticking out that bad. I could have left this.
Okay, that's all sewed up now. I'm going to cut this little tail right there. The back of it can look a little wonky as long as it's the shape that you like. Don't worry about it. Now I'm just going to kind of pull and get all of the cotton dispersed in there. You can kind of reshape too after it's been knitted. You can kind of finagle it. Okay, I think that's good. I think she's looking like a donut. Now to create this divot in the middle, it says stitch all the way through the center of the donut. Add a few stitches to create a depression in the center of the donut, not to secure.
So just like earlier, I'm going to pick up a loop and pull my yarn through and tie 2 knots to make sure it's secure. So now I'm sewing in and out in X shapes, trying to create that divot in the middle.
This is what it's looking like so far. Now I'm wishing I would have added more stuffing into it because I don't have a lot of room to work with the face, but that's okay. Now I'm going to cut off my tails. Now it says stitch several blue and red sprinkles onto the top of the surface of the donut. You can also add stitches under the eyes to form cheeks and then stick on eyes and mouth. I'm going to put the face on first because I think depending on where the face is, that'll change where I want the sprinkles to go. And I think putting the face on is the most important step to making sure your character is cute. The rest of it can kind of turn out wonky, but if you put the face placement right, then everything is super cute. So I keep a picture of the character close by, and I use a sewing pin. But if you don't have a sewing pin, you can use the yarn needle that comes in the kits. And I just finagle.
So here in a second, I use the sewing pin to actually hold the face down, but that's not how I usually do it. I usually will just pull the backing off the sticker, put the sticker on the sewing pin, and then it helps me see where I'm going to place it.
Okay, her face is on. Now I'm going to add the sprinkles.
The sprinkles?
Okay, now let's sew these sprinkles on. I'm just going to tie it down here.
Yeah, tie down there.
So I'm just completely winging these sprinkles, y'all. I don't know if this is how I should have done it. I think it turned out fine. But again, I'm just sewing in and out of the entire piece. I secured it at the bottom, and now I'm just kind of going around and putting sprinkles where I think they should go. Okay, so here she is all finished. I think she turned out so cute. I ended up taking the red cheek part off, but now I'm looking back, I think it was cuter that way. Y'all have to let me know what you think.
So I actually have a duplicate of this kit. So I'm going to be giving this one away. All you have to do is be in the US and comment giveaway down below. And as long as you are subscribed to the channel and follow me on Instagram, I will send this to you. And I can't wait to see you make it.